He's like 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was wondering about size.
Yeah. Putting it in this perspective, yeah, with the sunflowers and the level that the eyes were at, yeah, I mean, it would have been at least 2.5, 3 feet taller than where his head is now. So.
Which makes him potentially 9 to 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Glenn on another encounter interview with a gentleman who's was a soldier at Fort Carson here in Colorado, and I'm going to meet him at a local coffee shop. But he saw a figure on the side of the road back in about 2016, and it actually, seeing that, made him stop hunting alone. And I'm looking forward to this interview. He didn't want to talk on video, but he is willing to do an audio interview, and we will be going on site so that you can see this exact location where this happened. And here we go. Stay tuned.
So I was a sergeant in the U.S. Army from 2010 until 2019. I had PCS to Fort Carson in the spring. It's probably May of 2014. We ended up buying a house in Fremont County, Canyon City area, and so I was commuting from Canyon City to Fort Carson for about 5-6 years. It was the fall of 2016, I want to say August or September. I was the company armorer at the time, and we were getting ready to go on maneuvers, so I had to go into work early. I had gotten up about 1 o'clock in the morning, made my coffee, got my uniform on, and started driving. Once I got to Highway 115, I started making my way up Highway 115 towards Fort Carson. I just gotten out of Penrose. There's a series of S-turns on Highway 115 where it's kind of down in a box canyon. And coming around one of the turns off to my right-hand side towards down in the ditch was a pair of yellow eyes, maybe 2.5 feet or so off the ground. And that fall was kind of a weird one because all of the wild sunflowers were going that year. I don't remember, but they only come like every so many years, like 5 or 6 years, something like that. And it was kind of in this dried up sunflowers with its like back towards me. And as I'm driving still, I've taken my foot off the gas and realized that there's something there. And I was really used to seeing wildlife on this route all the time. I mean, at this point I've been driving it for almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
There's usually a lot of deer and elk, and I mean, I've even seen mountain lions and bears on that part of the stretch there.
Oh, okay.
But
all are in the wee hours of the morning like this?
I mean, at this time of the morning, 115 is usually a ghost town. There's nothing on that road but usually me or maybe another semi. And so I'm slowing down to see what this animal is going to do, if it's going to jump back across the road and I'm going to have to slam on the brakes. And as I'm looking at it, my brain is confused. It's like it doesn't understand what it's seeing. And I mean, a little background is I grew up in Wisconsin, bow hunting, rifle hunting. I've spent the better part of my life in the outdoors, and my brain is not computing, the weird shape that this thing is. And when I finally figured it out, I mean, it's maybe 30-40 feet ahead of me still. I'm slowed down. I'm probably doing about 20 at this point, a 65. And it stood up with its back towards me and kind of turned towards me, and I got a quick look at it. It was, very tall, kind of slouched over posture, obviously walking on 2 legs, long reddish brown hair, and at this point I'm pretty much parallel to the hood looking sideways at this thing as I'm passing it, and it just started walking off down into the ditch. And so I quick flipped the truck around, actually just turned the truck 180 degrees sideways to traffic, and I spun around, and I'm shining my headlights up through the bank into the ditch, and I can see it moving up into the trees, and I mean, it was gone. It covered that distance so fast.
Wow.
And I mean, it really, I just sat there like, what the hell was that, you know? I just couldn't.
So you're T-boned
Yeah,
to the
traffic.
highway.
Yep.
Okay.
Shining my headlights, and I just was unsure of what I saw at the time, but the longer I've had to think about it, I mean, the only thing I can think of is it had to be a Bigfoot. You know, something moving on two legs. You know, and when I first started looking at it, I thought maybe, you know, it's a guy in a ghillie suit, or, you know, a soldier that got lost, because that's like right on the edge of Fort Carson property line there. You know, that was down by the road, or just somebody playing a trick, but just the size of it and the way it moved and the eyes, there's no way.
So you're driving up on it.
Mm-hmm.
How far off the side of the road do you think this was?
It was maybe 10, 15 feet off the edge of the shoulder.
Okay, so it was right there.
Yeah, right there. And it was like crouched. I can't say for sure what it was doing, but it was like halfway kind of crouched down. I don't know if it was like heard the truck coming and it was trying to hide from the truck, or if it was doing something on the ground or what.
But the first thing you caught was the eyes.
Yeah.
So it was looking at you, coming at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it stood up.
Yep. And slightly kind of turned towards me, like quartered towards me.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see its arm. It like narrowed its profile because it was like almost like its back to me, looking over its shoulder when I first saw it.
Oh, okay.
And then it stood up and turned to the right, like it was gonna go to the east.
Okay.
It just kind of like sauntered off. You know, it was like didn't really care about me one way or another. It just kind of decided I'm gonna go that way, and it just
so it
started
didn't
going.
run like a deer
No,
would run
no.
or anything else. It just moved.
Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying the video as much as I am sitting here in the middle of a litter of shepherd-doodles. But if you are, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell and comment and do all that stuff, because it really helps with the algorithm, which allows this content to get moving even more, which allows us to produce even more content, because I've got probably 100 interviews to do. So do all that stuff, and I will see you on the other side of the video. There's more coming. Thanks. So what was going through your mind? I mean, what was going through your mind at this point? I mean, you're here, you're seeing something, you pulled over, you've turned.
I mean, the hair on the back of my neck was standing straight up. I was just like, what was that? You know, I was like, I couldn't think of anything that would fit that profile. And it was just eerie, you know. And
that's crazy. And how long had you been on base at this point?
About 2.5 years.
Had you ever heard of any other people, I mean, anybody, any whispers or anything like that at all?
No.
So here you are, you've come to Colorado, you've been here for a short time.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, you see this, whatever this is.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't want to put a label on it and be like, this is what it is, because I had no idea. And so like after that, I started doing a bunch of research, and it's actually reading some of the other people's reports just on Highway 115 is what really is like, that is what I saw.
Yeah.
You know, to a T. And I didn't talk about it for a while, and my wife actually finally called me out on it. She's like, what is going on with you? She's like, you won't go outside, you know, without the dogs, you're edgy, you're just, something's up. And I didn't think she'd believe me, you know. And part of it was like, did I hallucinate that? Did that really happen? When I told her, I felt better. Like, immediately had that, like, weight lifted off my shoulders.
Sure.
So.
Well, getting back to the eyes, you said they're yellow. Do you think this is one of those arguments?
Sure.
Was it eye shine? Or do you think that they were emitting yellow?
No, it's like reflecting back. Because, like, before I could even see the outline of whatever it is, you know, the light was, like, reflecting off the back of their eyes.
So it was eye shine.
Yeah. Yep. And that's, and, you know, being a hunter for long enough to know that like yellow eyes, you know, that's not a deer. That's
Yeah.
you know, it's not an elk. It's some sort of omnivore that has like that pigment. And
Wow.
yeah,
How broad or how tall, did you have any sense of that? Because we're going to go on site, and you're going to, you know, I'm going to set something up to hopefully lock it in. But what do you think this was size-wise?
you know, my only point of reference for that height, because I mean, in my mind it happened like really slow motion, but in reality, I mean, this was maybe over the course of like 20 seconds, 25, 30 seconds. The only point of reference that I really have is that I remember there was like a mile marker pretty close to where it was, within a couple feet, and the sunflowers at that time, these wild sunflowers, I mean, they get 6-7 feet tall, some of these plants, and I remember it's, you know, being about chest height on that thing. So
wow. So this
it's better than 6 feet, 7.5 feet.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say for certain, but you know, it was taller than the plants that were around it.
What color was this?
Reddish brown.
Reddish brown?
Like long matted hair.
Okay.
You know, long being, you know, I remember that distinctly as like it, and that's kind of where I thought it was like a ghillie suit, like that matted hair, that long reddish hair, that it was, you know, probably a hand's length long hair, you know.
Okay.
So what?
So 5, 6, 7 inches long.
Yeah, and again, this is in the fall.
And was it all over the whole body, or do you remember?
I never got a good look at the whole body, just that like the kind of back profile and then like the 1/4-2 profile, and it seemed like it was longer like by the shoulders and arms than it was like the torso.
Okay.
And not so much on the head.
So you saw it on the side, it kind of turns and then walks away from you.
Yeah.
At this point, your headlamps are on it, more or less on it.
Yeah.
Did you hit your high beams to watch it?
Yeah, I had my high beams on when I was going down 115, because
Okay.
I'm the only one on the road anyways.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I had them on, the high beams on, when I turned, you know, parallel to.
So as it's walking away, do you have any sense of how wide this thing is?
Mm-mm. No, I never really got a good profile of it that way.
Okay. Then, so even as it's walking away, it's still like a 3/4.
Well, yeah.
It's quartered back to you, sort of.
More quartering away is when I passed it with the truck and spun the truck around and then shone the headlights back. I'm kind of at an angle to it going. It didn't go straight up that ravine. It almost started side hilling up it, up towards those cliffs.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah.
Its head. Did you distinguish the head from the shoulders, or a lot of people say that there's.
No, actually. Now that you say that, it was very hard to. It's not like a human head, like, you know, you have this clear neck to head. It was almost like kind of like a triangle going up, slightly, you know, contoured, but I never really thought about that until you just asked me that question.
Yeah, because a lot of people say that, you know, I guess the Indians would say the nickname of these things are the, you know, no-neck people or something like that.
I had no idea.
Like, because they don't seem to turn their head, they'll turn their whole torso to look at things, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And could you distinguish any ears or anything like that?
I couldn't, no.
Okay.
Yeah, remember, it's like, there's pitch black. There's,
sure.
There's no ambient light out there, so I mean, it's just whatever the headlights could kind of spot on, and was more focused on other parts of it.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, I went back not a couple days after that during the daytime, and I tried to see if there was tracks or anything. Nothing. I couldn't find anything. But I mean, it's so hard ground over there too.
Yeah.
But it's all rocky.
So you said the hair was matted, so it wasn't. Some people say it almost looks like dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like nappy, like, you know, like an Irish setter, like setter, like the dog, like that. The hair kind of grows in like almost like matted pads.
Okay,
of
so
hair.
it wasn't like, I don't want to say manicured hair.
No, no.
you also said there was something curious that happened on
Yeah.
base one time.
And I never really thought about this until me and you were talking now. And,
Yeah.
it was before. Actually, I figured out it was before this happened, so I didn't even really think of it at the time. But so from where I sighted this thing to the east, to the northeast, just of there, maybe a mile and a half as the crow flies, is a place on Fort Carson called Camp Red Devil, and it sits in this giant, like, basin of a bowl out there, kind of surrounded by mountains around it, and it's several miles across. I mean, I bet it's maybe 5 miles of just kind of like flat, grassy area. And we were out on maneuvers out there, and I was a gunner on the striker, so I was sitting behind the LRAS. And same thing, it's wee hours in the morning, and we're set up in like a wagon wheel security, so we have trucks 360 degrees, we're pulling security. And it was my turn on the gun, and I was sitting there for 2 hours. But with these LRAS, I mean, you can see mice like 1,000 meters out moving in the field with these things.
Now,
clearly.
what's an LRAD?
So it's like a thermal,
Okay.
white hot, FLIR, black hot. So that's synced to our 50 cal gun that's on the truck,
Okay.
and it's calibrated, and that's like your sighting mechanism that would be on there.
So you're looking at a screen
Yeah.
at this point.
So I'm looking at a computer screen inside of my striker, and it's on a joystick, so I can move it 360 degrees, and it goes all the way up to like 40 power magnification, and you can switch between different types of thermal to get contrast and definition. And at one point throughout the night, I saw a heat signature through the LRAS way far off, like the other side of the valley far off. I mean, our company is set up on this side, and we're in the middle of nowhere. There ain't nothing out there. No towns, no gas stations. And
it's a military base. So
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be.
yeah,
Nobody's supposed to be on.
there shouldn't be anybody walking around out there. And I see this heat signature, and I zoom in on it, and definitely at that range, I mean, this thing had to be 3-4 miles away. Just kind of at the base of the mountains, just kind of walking the flats. And at the time, I thought it was a person, and because it had that, definitely 2 arms, 2 legs, head feature. But at that distance, your definition is you can't tell. You can tell you're looking at a person or something, but you can't make out what they're wearing or
Right.
anything like that. And I remember thinking to myself, what is this person doing walking way out there in the middle of the night on a military base? I thought it was somebody that had gotten lost or separated from one of their groups. But thinking back on it, looking at it through the screen, it was way bigger than it should have been at that distance, at that magnification through the thermal. I would have looked like, half an inch on the screen, and this thing was like 2 inches,
Wow. So this is about the same time, 2615-ish.
Yeah, that was probably spring of 2016, and then the sighting I had was in the fall.
It was in the fall.
August,
so this
September.
is springtime. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Now, were you able to flip to, I want to say, normal screen to see if they were using a light of any type, or could you tell?
No, so
So it's all thermal.
no, you can switch between, but I mean, this is like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black out, so our daylight cameras
Wouldn't pick anything up. Even
no,
if you-
but I mean, you can see what they're doing with their arms, and this thing was just walking, just like sauntering along.
Now, were the arms swinging big? That's what they say is that
Yeah.
these things, the arms swing big.
Yeah, it
normal
looked-
people don't swing their arms big.
No, and that's something I remember too, is like it looked like they were moving with a purpose, the way that their body was going, but it didn't look like they had like a backpack or anything like that. And so then after seeing the one on 115, it really made me think, all right, did I really see a person out there, or was that
Sure.
something else because of the proximity time frame?
And it was
North-
heading generally east from
northeast.
Northeast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm sure I've gotten other stories of crossings on 115.
mhm.
And I'm sure that there are, pilots who are flying helicopters out there, using their infrared, and that I'm sure people are seeing things.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to get dinged for, flight medical issues. They don't want to ruin a career.
Sure. Or they don't know what they're seeing,
Right.
Because through the thermals, I mean, you don't have that kind of definition. You can tell that there's something there, and they're like, there shouldn't be something there, but there is. But yeah, it would be really interesting to hear from like the flight lines and some of the pilots that do the live fire range down there, if they've ever seen it.
How is this anywhere near? Was this near a live fire range on the base? Do you know?
No.
Okay. Because those are specially designated locations.
Yes. Yeah. So this is an open maneuver area, and it's a giant area. I mean, you could drive around that, and it would take a couple hours to drive that whole area.
Wow.
But you'd only probably see 1% of it.
Sure.
So
that's crazy. When you're looking through the thermal, you look at a person through a thermal and you'll see a head, but their jacket you'll see a head, you'll see hands.
Yeah.
At least through, the cheap thermal that we have.
Yeah.
Was this all lit up, or was it?
It was all lit up.
It was all lit up.
Yeah.
Because normally, if a person's wearing a jacket, the jacket would hide some of the heat signature.
The stuff the military uses,
It sees right through it.
Pretty much. It's not going to see through it. It's just that it's going to be the same ambient temperature,
Oh, okay.
I mean, unless it's like a big, puffy, like winter jacket, like one of those big, like Alaskan jackets, that's going to like trap more of the heat. But I mean, like for our time frame, it was springtime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was pretty warm that night. It was probably in the 40s,
Okay. Well, for a normal person, 40s is that's a chill. You're going to wear a jacket. You're going to.
Somebody told me once, said people in the infantry spend about 60% of their life in a pre-hypothermic state, So, yeah, I guess.
That's pretty amazing. Now, have you ever heard of any other stories from Fort Carson? I mean, whispers or anything like that?
No. So, but it's not something that I openly talked about when I was in the service either.
Sure.
Because of my rank and position, I didn't.
You don't want to jeopardize anything?
Yeah, it's like jumping on a freaking hand grenade. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it's super interesting, and I'm sure there's other stuff out there, but nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
So how is this? Now you mentioned this has kind of changed you. How has this changed you?
I won't go out into the woods by myself and hunt anymore. I mean, so like I said, I'm a big bow hunter, avid hunter, and like I used to go out and bow hunt elk specifically. I mean, they said I did 10 years in the military, and I got a pretty thick skin, but I don't even like camping in like a tent or anything outside anymore. But
because of what you saw.
Yeah. Like before, I would have no problem going out bow hunting 3-4 days on like a backpacking trip just by myself with a GPS. I won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think these things are?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, do you think it's flesh and blood, or do you think it's something different, or?
No, I think it's an animal just like anything else, but it's highly developed, intelligent, great sense of smell. So.
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah.
I mean, the biggest argument people have against these things is, well, why haven't we found bones? Why haven't we done this? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Until we get one, it's all just hypothetical, but
sure.
I mean, how many bird skeletons do you find out there, So what if they have like hollow bones or cartilage, something that degrades quickly, rapidly? I mean, elephants have elephant graveyards. What's to say that I think these things are highly migratory, and I think it wasn't a coincidence seeing them spring and fall. Which coincide with like deer and elk movements in that area. Specifically, that elk, they move through that area twice a year.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay.
What's to say that they don't have a graveyard somewhere, that they don't each other.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
as you said, everything's conjecture.
Yeah. So, thinking about it, where that crossing is, and just in general, and the proximity of where I saw both things. It's a straight shot from the west of there, coming down through a huge swatch of national forest along Phantom Canyon Road, and then you goes across another BLM section called Table Mountain, and then that drops right down onto a private military reservation that doesn't see a lot of action. I mean, that whole area, I mean, you could draw a straight line and there might only be 2 houses in that line for 30 miles.
Yeah.
It's a huge area where nobody's living and there's really no roads.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you for sharing. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, let's head on over to the on site if that works for you.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so here we go. We're gonna check out where he had this encounter. I'm gonna follow him up, so enjoy the drive. And I'm gonna point out a couple of things as we're going here. Had their encounter with their trailer. Something coming visiting them at their trailer. So here we are on site, and this is much closer to Florence and Penrose than I thought we were going to be. I'm very exciting to see what he has to say about this.
Yeah, so it's coming north on 115. I just come around that turn there.
Right where that red is right about now.
Right about where the red Jeep is when I first saw the eyes through the... Initially, this reflector up here towards the turn sign, it only took a matter of milliseconds for me to realize it wasn't the reflector, it was high reflection from something that was about 10 feet off the road, kind of crouched down towards that brush. At the time, there was a ton of sunflower stalks, and that's where it kind of turned and stood up, and then proceeded to head east here, over towards that rocky ridge. And by that time I passed it, turned around on the road, about where that semi is, and I was parallel to the road, shining my bright high beams over there, and I caught it just moving across that ridge.
So you saw it go from here.
Yeah.
Did you see it cross the...
I didn't. So I was passing it as it was standing up there, past it. By the time I turned around, it was almost to that ridge.
Okay, so it's just, you didn't see it cross the
No.
that or the ditch.
Mm-mm.
Just doing that would be a lot of work right there.
Yeah.
That ditch.
It's a steep ditch.
Yeah.
With a barbed wire fence.
And a barbed wire fence. And then this goes up, and then you saw him go onto this forward one. How long did you watch it?
Just a matter of seconds. So it maybe took me, 5-7 seconds to spin my truck around, position, get my headlights. It was already towards the base and the trees there, and it went diagonally up, kind of like side hilling that ridge and up and over in a matter of seconds.
And then you saw it crest over this front ridge and nothing.
Well, once I got to about 2/3 up, that little ridge there, it was out of the view of my lights, the angle of the lights. I couldn't see it anymore. I just caught it going up, and I figured it went up and across it.
And it didn't seem to be bothered by you.
No.
It just moved.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question because I was thinking about this on the way here.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you didn't want to go hunting anymore by yourself.
Yeah.
Why not? What? Obviously, this jarred you, but what about it made you not want to do that?
Just the thought that we're not the biggest, baddest things out here. Like I said, I spent the better part of my life out in the woods or out in nature, and it just jarred me to think that to see something like that.
Yeah, something that could rip you in half.
I don't know what it's, I don't know if they're hostile or not, but it just, the thought of surprising one of them. Like, I've walked up on bears, I've had mountain lions stalk me while I'm, elk calling. No, it's just too much. North here, came around the turn, and about here is where I initially saw eyes, and it was facing to the northeast, like so, and I thought it was crouched. Initially, I thought it was one of the reflectors, because there's a bunch of reflectors here going around the turn, and then I realized it was a set of eyes, but they were, and then I'm thinking deer, but then my brain is processing, and the eyes are yellow, they're not like green like a deer. And as I'm getting closer, it kind of stands up, turns to the right to look at me, and about this time, almost parallel with where he is now, passing it, and it's walking down towards the fence. But like as I'm passing him, it's walking to the right, to the east, towards the fence. And I've passed him. I'm turning my truck around and crossing both lanes of traffic now after I've turned around. And I've got my high beams pointed. By the time I had made that turnaround, it was already making its way up and across this ridge over here, going diagonally across.
The lower ridge down here.
Yes, the lower ridge. It was going diagonally across there through the trees, and that's when I lost it.
Okay. If the sunflowers are 4 feet high, let's say 4 feet.
Yeah.
He, from the ground, he's like 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was wondering about size.
Yeah. Putting it in this perspective, yeah, with the sunflowers and the level that the eyes were at, yeah, I mean, it would have been at least 2.5, 3 feet taller than where his head is now. So.
Which makes it
9
potentially
to 10.
9 to 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we're here, I'm 6 feet tall. Eye level is basically at the roadbed level. If you saw it at the roadbed coming from that way, it's got to have been at least 7.5 feet tall, if not taller.
At least, yeah.
At least.
So I'm 6'3.5".
Yeah, and we barely saw you. But so you pass it, you didn't even see it. You just saw it starting to move this direction.
Correct, yeah.
But you didn't see it past the fence.
No.
And so as we're looking down on underneath this ditch, that's at least 15 feet down. And you didn't catch it again till it was already halfway up that ridge, and that's got to be 70 yards away.
Yeah.
70 yards, and that ridge is probably 40 feet tall.
Oh, it's more than that.
More than that. It's hard to gauge for me to gauge stuff, but
It's hard to see with the trees kind of obscuring it, but yeah, I would say.
But within
80 feet tall.
If you're only going 20 miles an hour as you passed and flipped a quick UE, by the time you got there, it was already over there.
Yeah.
Means it went over the fence, down the ditch, up through all those trees, and halfway up the ridge.
Yeah. Or the one I saw hit the tree line, and I'm catching another one over there. It's possible that it could have been 2, but I only ever saw 1. I guess I never thought about that. But I mean, that's a good clip to move in 10 to 15 seconds to pull a UE, flip my high beams on, and pull across, traffic to look. So it's possible it was 1 or possibly 2.
Yeah.
Switching places, it's hard to say.
And you saw it up here is where you saw it and got the color and all that stuff.
Yes. Well, I caught it here too as I'm passing. I mean, it's reddish brown, long hair.
Okay. So what'd you think about his testimony? I thought it was really compelling. Unfortunately, he didn't want to be shown on face, and I totally respect that. And, but we did what we could. But the fact that it was right there on Highway 115, where I've had other sightings, is really exciting. Also, that it was on Fort Carson. That's really exciting, and that it continued to Fort Carson. And so if you have had any encounters, whether it's here in Fremont County on Highway 115 or anywhere else, let me know at encounters@modernexplorer.me. And I would love to document your story and perhaps go on site as well and see what you've seen, so you can show me the tree or the rock or whatever it was. I think that's really exciting. So thank you very much for spending time with us, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.